up, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you've never been here. I am Coach Farrell. I am a spiritual coach for the LGBT community. Last video, I just did a high level overview of the 6A Gateway. I was a little rough. I didn't have any water, rookie mistake. So my mouth was like really dry, cotton mouth type thing. But hopefully, you guys could hear my heart in that video, and what I was trying to convey came through okay. But having some technical difficulties, some glitches and things like that. But hopefully, I think I've worked all that out this time around. So I think we're good to go. Kind of building the plane as I fly it. Perfection is the enemy of done. So I'm just pushing through, putting it out there, hoping to help people without always necessarily trying to make it perfect first. All right, so got that out the way. Like I say, we bigger and better each time. So I appreciate the patience, and like I said, hopefully you hear my heart, see my heart, and the message came through okay. So a little about me. I also didn't give an introduction, so I definitely want to do that. I am Coach Farrell. Like I said, I am the creator of the 6A Gateway. Trust me, this isn't something I just studied. I have lived it. I've been through the rejection, identity struggles. I was gang banging, victim mentality. Over 20 years, I identified as a lesbian before realizing that being trans aligned more fully with who I truly am. But through healing, self awareness, and partnering with spirit, I stopped living for survival and I started living in alignment. And so now I'm married, raising two kids, pursuing my dreams. I'm a CPA, building the life I used to think wasn't possible for somebody like me. And I'm here to help you do the same because you deserve to win in life on your own terms without compromising who you are to get what you want, without guilt, shame, or fear. This is about getting into what I call the 3P position, where your purpose, your passion, and your prosperity all converge. So if you're ready to stop hiding and start becoming, you are in the right place. All right. So that's a little bit about me. Uh, Today, I want to get into authenticity specifically. Again, the first video was a high level overview of the 6 stages. Now, kind of break down each stage one by one. So we'll start with stage one, authenticity. So authenticity, this is you uninhibited, is what I like to say. This is who spirit, who the divine intelligence sent you here. You made, depending on what you believe, you made a soul contract, let's say, to come here and do certain things and fulfill certain things. So this is who you said you show up as. It gets lost along the way because of societal and religious pressure, as we know. But this is what I call raw authenticity. It's raw. It's you. Full stop. Just not tampered with at all. So yeah. Let's see. Before you become self conscious, you were just yourself, and that's essentially what the authenticity phase is. Give me 1 second. Okay. So authenticity. So before you became self-conscious, self-aware of social norms and people staring at you, talking about you, you were just yourself. Full stop. You before you learned what was acceptable, like socially or otherwise. Before people started correcting your behavior. Before shame and hiding and masking, like those survival skills that we typically learn as LGBT people. Before any of that, and you were just uninhibited, didn't know any better, just being a little kid, just being yourself. Typically, it's a little kid because little kids tend to be the ones who are not as socially aware, and they just be themselves. They just do what they want to do what feels, do what comes natural. Now I must say, not all LGBT people are in this have experienced this stage or any stage for that matter. That's not to say every LGBT person has experienced every stage. That's not to say every LGBT person will experience the stages in the same order. You could be in more than one stage at the same time. So I just want everyone to keep that kind of stuff in mind as we go through this. This is more so for those who are either masculine of center or feminine of center. If you're male, like you'll more than likely have experienced the authenticity phase. If you're not really kind of stereotypically, for lack of a better word, gay or presenting a certain way, you this stage may not apply to you. So for those of us who are though, It's like you start to hide, you start to wear a mask, which that leads us into the next stage, which is awareness. So it's really hard to talk about authenticity without covering awareness because they kind of go hand in hand. Well, they do go hand in hand. You don't, at least in my experience, I didn't know my authenticity until people started pointing it out, and I became aware of it. So I'm gonna try to just stick on authenticity, but awareness may come in because, like I said, they do go hand in hand. So there is some bleeding over one into the other. They kind of merge. So you just raw though, unfiltered, unmanaged authenticity. Like the saying says, ignorance is bliss. Like you don't know any better. It's a blissful place to be because you don't have those hangups yet. You don't have that need or that desire for survival yet. You're just being yourself. Um, so this is what it looks like. Authenticity in this stage looks natural, innocent, it's unforced. The little boy dancing without embarrassment, the little girl refusing, limiting expectations, like, oh, girls don't do that. I for one was out with my cousins. All my cousins are older than me for the most part. I'm one of the younger ones, and they were all in college, and I was still like a kid, like little, like I was like 6 or 7 years old, and they were in college, like to show you just how much older they are. And so and it's quite a few of them are male. So we were outside. We had visited them in college, and we were outside. They were playing basketball. So my twin, I have a twin sister, which further complicates things. But that's another story for another day, as far as the complexities and the dynamics there. Especially with me being in authenticity, or just trying to carve out my individualism at the same time having a twin, which stereotypically people want you to be the same. So anyway, my twin was inside. I was outside with my cousins, and we were playing basketball. And so they would pick me up and let me dunk, like lift me up to the goal so I could dunk on it. And they told me to say "Yo, mama." Like that was the saying back then. I'm in my early 40s, so this is like the early 90s. So back then, like "Yo, mama," that's what people used to say. So I'm like "Yo, mama," and then they would get a kick out of it. They all thought it was so funny, but for me, I'm just enjoying myself because I get to be myself, and other people are enjoying me be myself and encouraging me to be myself, and letting me be a part of everything. So I'm not saying that to play basketball or to dunk as a little girl makes you LGBT. But I'm saying in my case, this was one of the ways in which I distinctly remember, like really being able to express my authenticity. Being getting able to dunk, and then like I would switch it up. Like they would like do it again, and I would get the ball, and they would lift me up, and I would dunk again. I was like, "Y'all's mama," like I know it's a little corny, but I thought it was cool at the time, and they would get a kick out of it. Like I started ad libbing and put my own little spin on it and everything because that's just how good a time I was having with it. So that's authenticity for me. The like as a little girl refusing the limiting expectations of, well, girls shouldn't be doing that. My mom was always had these girls do this, boys do that rules, and I just never really bought into it. I know she was well meaning, but for me it was like that's limiting. Like I want to do what I want to do on my terms, not based on societal rules or what's right or wrong based on your gender. So it could even look like asking deep questions. Like I used to ask, my mom, like, well, if we all supposed to go to heaven one day, who's gonna be here? Like, what's gonna happen to Earth, or what's gonna happen to this world or this existence? Like, where is it gonna go? And she'd be like, it's gonna go away. And I'm like, that didn't really make sense to me. I'm like, but it's gotta go somewhere. Like, it's gonna go away where? Like, and this was me like at a very young age, anywhere from 6 to 8 years old, with these kind of questions as I'm being indoctrinated with this religion and these beliefs and these, this ideology. Like we all going to heaven and that's the goal. Okay, well then who's gonna be here or what's gonna happen here? Like I didn't want to. I it's not gonna sound right, but I didn't want to go to heaven. Not because I didn't want to go see God or be in this heavenly place. Everybody wants to go to heaven, theoretically. But I didn't want to go because I wasn't convinced of what that meant. I wasn't convinced of what's going to happen here. Do I have to die? Like, I was hesitant based on what I felt like that meant or the lack of answers I was getting. about, what's heaven like, and I could just imagine in my head like these dark rolling clouds and just nothing here on earth, or trying to, in my young mind, understand heaven and earth, and what's in between, and what is that going to look like if we're all up here, and what's it going to look like from down, heaven down. And so it was frightening for me, actually. But anyway, just really being deep, and asking the tough questions, not to be difficult, but just out of genuine curiosity. But that's me being authentic, and not censoring myself, regardless of how the adults felt about it or how uncomfortable it made them. Um, so how does authenticity feel? It feels free because there's little awareness yet of social consequences. Remember I said, ignorance is bliss. Like, it's a blissful place to be because you don't know any better, and you just going through life, being yourself, uninhibited. And we all wear masks to an extent, not just LGBT people, but we all have to, present a representative at work or in various aspects of our life. Maybe, dealing with children and things like that. You can't just be a certain way. We all have to kind of finesse or finagle and do things a certain way. But this framework in particular is specific to the LGBT community and the ways in which we have to wear masks. And it also, the complexity to highlight is, being at the intersection of being black and LGBT, because as black people, we know how to code switch when need be. And then as an LGBT person, I've had to wear masks and, pretend to be more girly, or try to get into what it meant to be girly and all that, as a means of survival. So being at that intersection of constantly having to appease other people, be it because of the color of your skin or your sexual preference, is tough. So I also wanted to highlight that as well. But back to authenticity, because in authenticity, you're not worried about any of that yet. That's more awareness, and like I said, the line is blurred between the two, so it's hard to talk about one without the other. But in authenticity, it's almost like that, black person that can really be free no matter who you're around, and that's the goal, and that's what I try to be anyway around. No matter what group of people, I try to always be myself, because the goal is to get back to authenticity ultimately. Spoiler alert. But we have gone through, most people, if you're like me, you've gone through all these other stages while trying to get back to where you started and just being able to be yourself. So at any rate, you speak how you speak. Like I say, no code switching, no trying to make my voice lighter, or something that will make other people comfortable. Because if I'm a female but my voice is deep, I had a classmate tell me in sixth grade, you talk like my sister's boyfriend. As far as like my cadence and the register, the lower register, and everything. And again, that's another awareness spot, because it was like I was just being me, and I thought I was being cool and just talking and hanging out with my friends. And they were laughing and, getting a kick out of what I was saying. But then it was like, you talk like my sister's boyfriend. And that was an awareness moment. In that moment, I realized, oh, I'm different. I'm being different. That's what she's essentially saying. If I was just being funny and they were laughing at whatever I had to say and just enjoying the conversation, that's one thing. But you're pointing something out as if to say, that's different. So, at any rate, that's a little bit about authenticity as far as how it feels. It's a really nice place to be. It's what we all strive to get back to, or what a lot of my coaching is around getting back to. And I've already talked about what it looks like, and I now give you 3 signs that you're in authenticity. Number one, you express yourself instinctively. You don't even think about it. You don't hesitate. You don't say, well, what will other people think if I say this? Or what would other people think if I do this way? What would other people think if I walk out of my house dressed like this? None of that. You don't even think about it. You just 100% authentically yourself without inhibition. Number two, your identity is driven more by feeling than social rules. You do what comes natural. I used to love going to Foot Locker. I used to love going to Champs, all the sporting goods stores that had the tennis shoes, that had the fly gear, that's where I wanted to be. And my twin sister wanted to go to like the limited. She wanted to go to, again, I'm in my early 40s, so my stories may be a little older. Bear with me. This was before like Forever 21 or was it H&M and Sheen. We certainly didn't have the internet ability to order clothes online. So bear with me. But like she would want to go basically go to the more girly stores. I didn't want to go to the stores that had like the sports stuff and the sporty stuff, a lot of the more masculine stuff. So but I would always have to act like I wanted to go to the girly stuff, or that I was enjoying that as well, or I couldn't just I didn't feel like, because at this point I'm learning, and again I'm going into awareness, which I try not to do, but they are so deeply linked that it's hard not to, so by this time I'm learning how to survive, and so it's like I can't just be like, well, I just want to go to champs, because I knew the reaction I would get by that time. But see, when I in authenticity, it'd just be about how I felt. It wouldn't be about the social rules or what other people expected of me. It would just come down to what I wanted to do. And which I did. I was like that more so when I was younger, which is why I knew by the time I got to be a teenager how to move in those spaces and survive in those spaces. I knew how to put on the front. Because when I was younger, I did have my hair in braids. I grew up watching Yo MTV raps. I grew up, when gangster rap was really kind of in its heyday with Snoop and Dre, and Snoop had the braids, and so I had my mama put my hair in braids, and I would go outside, and I grew up on the street with nothing but boys on the street. The only girls was me and my twin sister. And so, but all the boys were older. They were my brother's age, so they were his friends more so than mine. But when my brother wasn't around, they didn't mind me hanging out. It was my brother who really didn't want me around. So I remember being outside one day with my braids, and one of the boys on the street was like, "What's up, little Snoop?" Like I was embraced, for who I was and who I wanted to be, and I'm like, that's exactly what I was going for with Snoop. So I felt real good in that moment. You know what I'm saying? That I was affirmed in how I wanted to show up and authenticity. So again, identity driven more by feeling than social rules. That's how I felt. That's what I wanted to do, and that's what I did, and I was affirmed in it. Even if only for that moment, and everybody else on the outside, I'm still a little girl, but inside, and for me, having those braids, I was embodying what I saw on TV and what I enjoy seeing, like in a Snoop Dogg or somebody like that. Like, yeah, I want to look like that. I want to be that. Like I always kind of identified more with uh, the men or the boys, and being a boy. So it affirmed me, whether that was the intention or not. All right. So step number three: how you know you in authenticity. Other people notice your difference before you do. Remember, I've already said, like, the girl when I was in sixth grade telling me, "You talk like my cousin's boyfriend." Like she was noticing something that I didn't really even put two and two together with. I'm just being me. I'm just being the person that likes to watch, you on TV rap, that likes to go to champs, that likes to look like Snoop. Like I'm just being that person. I don't necessarily know what it means past that. I don't necessarily care what it means past that. I just want to be me. You know what I'm saying? But it's other people that want to start saying, well, that's more aligned with being a boy, or that's more aligned with you talking like a guy, or whatever. Like they are the ones typically, at least in my experience, to point that out as if it were either something bad or wrong or definitely different from what a girl should be. And I'm like, I be forgetting I'm a girl half the time. I just want to be me. And I identify more with the boy. So that's how the true me, comes across. So yes, other people may notice it prior to you noticing it. Like now, if you don't go through authenticity, like say you're not masculine of center if you're female, or you're not feminine of center if you were born male, you may start at awareness, which is the next stage. And you may start to just become aware of things on your own without other people noticing differences and things like that. So again, this may not apply. It may not apply to everybody. But I'm just saying, for those of us who are masculine or feminine of center, we're not really, we're not really at either end of those norms of what it is to be either or we on the opposite end of the one that society says we should be. These are things that you may experience. So in my coaching, part of what I do through God Power Activated is help you reconnect with the version of yourself that existed before shame, before performance and survival conditioning took over. So through the 6A Gateway, God Power Activated. Sorry, it's a kind of a tongue twister if you let it. The 6A Gateway, the GPA or the 6A GPA. Um, Again, the GPA stands for God Power Activated. I help people identify where disconnection began, how trauma interrupted authenticity, and how to rebuild trust with yourself spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically. Again, your true essence, who spirit and the divine being wanted you to be, is who you show up as in authenticity. Because it's really about the heart, it's really about your purpose. Excuse me. It's not about the outer appearance. So don't let that get in the way. Excuse me. Hold on. All right, my fault. Got some water this time. No, ain't no mush mouth this time. I'm ready. Yeah. So that's what I could do. That's what I strive to do with this coaching. So if this resonates, you may be reflecting on the authenticity stage of the 6A Gateway. If you felt anything I've said, if you can identify, if you have your own anecdotes about, oh yeah, I was showing up how I wanted to show up and doing this and doing that, and somebody said something to me, excuse me, a cousin, a friend, a parent, a teacher, a schoolmate, you know what I'm saying? Somebody, a church, a pastor, anybody. Like, I really encourage you to think back and see if you had those moments of authenticity and where somebody may have said something that really made you take pause or put you in a state of awareness that, okay, I'm different and people are starting to notice and not in a good way. They're starting to be critical of it, not celebrating me. Or there could be those who did celebrate you. Let's talk about that. Because in the teaching, in the course, because this is so deep. Like what I'm giving you is still pretty surface, believe it or not. This goes so much deeper and really breaking down the spiritual and psychological aspects of these different stages is what I want to do in the coursework. So in the course, though, I go into your authenticity angels or authenticity anchor or authenticity allies. Like pick one. Point being, this person or people um, support you. They're the ones who affirm you in your authenticity, not talk about you. So I, for one, had some authenticity angels, and I thank God for them. That's why I like angels because I believe they were God sent to help me and to affirm me in who I was when others were critical of me or doubting me or talking about me. One of which was my godmother, which was like a second mother to me. She really saw me for who I was and affirmed me, and it really helped plant a seed of worth in me that carried me through some of these other stages when I didn't want to live or didn't feel worthy because that's what I felt like people that would beat me over the head with the Bible and what God wanted for me were telling me that I wasn't worthy, that I was, demon possessed and this and that. But her belief in me and her affirming me as I was, really gave me an anchor. That's why I say, all these words are interchangeable for me. This authenticity anchor, it anchored me in something stronger. It anchored me in a belief that all that was a lie, that none of that was true, and that I was gonna be okay. Like it really kept me from unaliving myself, all of that, because I was just holding on to those words that she deposited into me very early on. That feeling she deposited into me very early on that I was worth it just how I was. She never corrected nothing about me being me. Like never. It was always love. And likewise, my other big brother, my play brother, like he passed away during COVID. He had COVID. RIP to him. Like, but again, another one, like an ally. Authenticity ally. He always had my back. Like when other people, my family, would just come down on me, and I'm just being a kid. So a lot of times I'll be confused, like, man, why everybody so mean to me, But he's one of those people that would always step in for me, and be like, well, nah, it is. I'm like, thank you. So I hope and pray that you've all anybody that can relate to authenticity. This stage has some authenticity angels or anchors or allies. I really do. If you don't now, or if you never have, I'll be your angel. I'll be that anchor for you in this coaching work. But I can say that made the difference for me, having people really affirm me and believe in me and love me, you know. And so I encourage you to think and see if you had one, because I just think about that song and sometimes I get emotional, like somebody loves you, baby, because sometimes I did feel so alone and like I say, so beat down just for being myself. So it's a lonely place. It's a dark place, and it was confusion because like I'm just being me. I don't get it. I don't get why people so down on me. So I just think back to that, like somebody loves you, baby. I'm not a singer, but you get the idea. Oh, 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 somebody loves you, babe. You know who it is. I just think about I know who it is. I know who it is. May they rest in peace. But I thank them for loving me, and I still love them. I know they still love me and watching me from the other side and holding me down. But if you think about it, you know who it is. You know who was pushing you, guiding you, standing behind you like I got your back. I see you, And that's one of the things I call it in the course too. Another interchangeable label is a mirror, you know. And then those who talk down on you, that's the false mirror. So I even have that juxtaposition with, the two mothers in my life, my godmother being the mirror, and then maybe my maternal mother. Not This is not to talk down on anyone or make anybody look bad or be critical. I'm just really speaking from my heart and speaking my truth of my experience. But my biological mother, the false mirror, because what she reflected back to me, is not true, and it wasn't real, and it was injurious and damaging. But I thank God for that true mirror, that real mirror that anchored me. So, at any rate, enough of that. 'Cause like I said, I start getting a little emotional off that. So, but if this resonates, like if you could really relate to this stage, then I want you to take the GPA quiz. Well, really anybody, if whether this stage relates to you or not, definitely take the 6A Gateway God Power Activated quiz. That quiz will tell you what stage you are currently in the 6A Gateway. Again, the previous video gave a high level overview of all the stages. If you're not clear on the stages, you can check that video out and then take the quiz. The quiz is linked in the bio to both videos, this one and the previous one. So you can see what stage of this framework that you're in. Um, if the video spoke to you, go ahead and like it. Share it with somebody else who it may also speak to. I would really appreciate that. Subscribe, because again, I'm going through each stage. So if this one doesn't resonate, guaranteed, some of the others might. So please subscribe so you know when new videos are uploaded, and share them. Comment and leave a comment about share maybe some of your stories of authenticity that you remember. Share maybe who your authenticity angels or anchors or allies are or were. Um, Let me know. Let's build community around this experience. And yeah, I comment back and we can start a whole conversation, and it'll be support for sure. Okay. So again, that's that on authenticity. I'm trying to make sure I didn't forget anything. Oh yeah, you can follow me on all my socials. They'll be linked here as well, because there'll be stuff on there about this information on the social media sites, as well as the quiz. I really want to see what stage people are in. I really want to help develop you around these stages and help you move through the stages. Because again, the point is to get back to authenticity. We're starting here, but the reality is a lot of us have not quite made it back to that great place of just being able to be you and being able to be fulfilled and celebrated, not by anybody else, but by you for being you. A lot of times we get disenchanted and tainted by what others think of us. So we are going to activate our God power and realign with the divine and fulfill our purpose. We got to get the BS out the way first, and then we can fulfill our purpose here, what we here to do to help others to then achieve their purpose. So you were put here for a reason. You're not a mistake. You're not an accident. You're okay just how you are. We just gotta get all the other stuff out the way so that you could be your best self. All right. So I'm Coach Farrell. I'm for real about spiritual truths that lead to enlightenment and ultimate freedom. I want to thank everybody for watching this, and I'll holler at you on the next one. I'm out.